If you haven't already seen Season 6, Episode 3, I suggest you go watch it right now and come back as I am about to give away some major spoilers. Okay, so in Episode 3, we gain some valuable insight into the extent of Bran Stark's powers and the implications that it could have on the whole Game of Thrones storyline.
What's in the tower?
That's enough for one day. We'll visit again another time.
I want to see where he's going.
Time to go.
Father!
As you can see in the clip, Bran calls out, "Father!" probably just as a split-second reaction to seeing Ned, someone Bran thought he would never see again. This is where it gets interesting. Ned Stark visibly stops in his tracks, turns around, and scans the area. Sure, it could have been just a gust of wind or some incredible coincidence, but why would the creators of the show put the scene in if it had no meaning? Especially considering the fact that Lyanna is in the Tower of Joy screaming for help. Ned must have had a good reason to make a complete stop and turn around. This brings us to the conclusion that Ned Stark actually heard Bran calling out, and that he changed the past, albeit for a couple of seconds, by making Ned stop and turn around. This is the very next scene.
Why did you do that? Take me back there, I want to go back.
No.
He heard me.
Maybe he heard the wind.
He heard me.
The past is already written. The ink is dry.
As you can see, Bran is adamant that his father really heard him calling out. And why shouldn't he be? It was clear to me that Ned really did hear someone. What other reason would he have to turn around and delay rescuing his sister Lyanna? The three-eyed raven somewhat dismisses Bran's claim and gives an ambiguous response saying maybe, or maybe it was just a gust of wind. He also says something very important that I just glossed over on my first viewing. He says, "The past is already written, the ink is dry." But is it really? Is the three-eyed raven lying to Bran about his ability to use greensight to affect the past through other people being able to hear him? Let's take a look at the three-eyed raven's face when he hears Bran calling out to Ned. That looks like the face of a concerned and worried man. Is it possible that he is distressed over the fact that Bran has discovered that people can hear him when using greensight to travel to the past? It gets even more interesting. Remember Aerys Targaryen, the Mad King? So far, all we know is that the Mad King heard voices in his head. Whispers, to be exact. What if those weren't just any voices Aerys was hearing, but rather that of the three-eyed raven? This theory becomes even more plausible when you look at the suggestions put forth in A Dance with Dragons that the three-eyed raven is in fact Brynden Rivers. If you don't know who Brynden Rivers is, he is a Targaryen, which makes him related to the Mad King. Maybe the three-eyed raven was only trying to help Aerys make the right choices to save the realm, but by doing so, instead drove him to become the Mad King because all he could hear were the whispers that were seemingly coming from no one. Maybe the three-eyed raven was in fact trying to warn the Mad King about the White Walkers and the others, telling him that the only way to stop them was to burn them all. This makes sense because the three-eyed raven would have already been north of the wall and would have known about the great threat that the White Walkers pose to the safety of Westeros. It explains a lot and gives a reason for him to lie to Bran about the past already being written, when in fact it could be influenced by his whispers. It makes a lot of sense if the three-eyed raven was the one who drove Aerys Targaryen insane, as he doesn't want Bran to make the same mistakes he did. His face says it all. He didn't expect Bran to call out as he did to Ned, and perhaps he fears Bran will make the same mistakes he did. I don't know yet, and nobody really does, if the fact that people in the past can hear Bran will have any impact on the show, but I know they didn't put that scene in there for no reason. Bran has a role to play in the Game of Thrones, and if I were a betting man, I'd say that this new insight we gained to the extent of Bran's powers will have a big role in episodes to come.